Hello, my name is Ramesses the 800th, and this is Manga Roundup. Notice I took off weekly because it's been 2 weeks, technically. But we're going to be covering the chapters that came out last week, not this week. Mainly because, truthfully, not too much stuff came out this week, at least yet, because I usually wait for Chainsaw Man if there's going to be Chainsaw Man. But we can start pretty simply, but basically, real quick, obviously a main cover, and we're going to be talking about four series today. We're going to be talking about Kagurabachi, Sick, Jujutsu Kaisen, Chainsaw Man, and RuriDragon. I think the best thing we can start off with is RuriDragon, and this image, this chapter cover art is actually, I think, pretty different from what we usually get. I really like it because we really don't get like colored pages too often, and this is like a pretty good one. And this chapter, that isn't very nice, is a very sentimental, at least to me, to a slight degree, chapter because it covers something important that happened last chapter. So Ruri is kind of like out of it throughout most of this chapter, at least like these parts, because of what the girl said. The two girls said last chapter, basically calling her horns gross and how it's really weird and icky, right? And everyone is basically telling her, oh, those people, they try to pick at anything. It's especially more because you have like horns and you're even more different than everybody else. Very easy to pick on you. Her two cohort friends, or whatever they're called, friends, basically are trying to make her feel better. Like, oh, you threw up vomit or like venom. That's pretty weird. You're feeling better. All of them are super, super worried. They're doing like a quick little activity. And we get another scene of basically bullying, which is these two girls. I don't know if we ever got their names. Basically going, hey, don't point your horns at me. Like, I don't want them to be facing us. And then you get friendship moment right here where I don't know their names. I'm so bad. All I know is Ruri. This girl who was mean to her before, she's very blunt, was basically just poking her horns, being like, see, they're not really dangerous. And Aiko? My brain. Basically, Ruri is like, she's saying like Ruri, she's so focused on like making sure her horns don't mess with anybody that you don't have to worry about her, right? And it's like, oh, what's your point? It's like it's and she's saying like it's really rude to make fun of somebody, especially when you don't know what they're going through. Very, very good line. And they're obviously being pissed and they run off. And we get this scene where it's like, oh, well, Meda. Maida? Is that how you say that? Maida, whatever. Where Ruri and Maida are talking, and Maida is saying, like, oh, I saw what was happening this morning. It looks like they were bad mouthing you, blah, blah, blah. It's just because you're an easy target. The truth for anyone who stands out, even regular people who are a little weird, right? More so because you're beyond human, right? And this little interaction, like it makes me forget like how real this series is sometimes. Like I very much forget like, oh, that's right, this is like an actual like thing that happens. And I'm gonna get a little personal. Don't mind me, I'm gonna get a little personal. When I was, well, I still have it. As a kid, I had really bad eczema, and because of my eczema, I had, don't know what it's called. It's like furrow something. Basically, I had like these, funnily enough, scales, or like I used to call them scales. They were like almost like bruises. They look like bruises slash burns. They look like it. And I had them on my legs, and I still have them on my legs. But people would make fun of me for it, obviously, and that's something I couldn't control. Obviously, I didn't really care about it too much, but it's kind of similar to how Ruri, she can't really control that she has horns, and it's because she stands out so much, it's so easy for her to be picked on. And I can relate to that. And I'm sure other people can relate to that if they have that one weird trait that they are aware of and can and kind of are self-conscious about it to a certain extent. And this is like such a good way of conveying that. Granted, what happens later is weird, but we get this really nice scene where she's basically explaining like, these people, they don't, this is how they interact, this is how they like relate to each other. I don't know if it was the scene or the previous scene where they're talking about, but it's like the way those people, these two specifically, get like get along better is by bad mouthing somebody else, making other people go ew, or making them feel weird, you know? And that is something that a lot of people can relate to. And now I understand even more so why RuriDragon is so popular. I love this series as myself, but in hindsight, especially when I'm talking about my legs, it's really funny that I used to call them scales because obviously Ruri's a dragon, but oh yeah, here it is. I think where she's saying like that's how they get to uh, like that's how those people get to know each other better is basically by gossiping about other and Freddy Fazbear. But um, then we get we get Ruri basically saying like I'm not really good at getting up in people's faces, especially if it's like a 2-on-1. But we get like oh well, let's get back at her, right? And then we get this scene of Ruri trying to snap off one of her horns, and it breaks. It snaps off, and great art by the way. But like, she's gonna snap off both her horns, and that like when I saw that, I was like, oh my god, that's so crazy. That's so weird. But then I thought, wait, wouldn't do her horns grow back? Do we know if they grow back, or what are her horns made out of? Because that's something I'm really like interested in. Are they bone? She says I can't, like there's nothing to feel in the horns, obviously, but is it bone? Is it like some other random material? And if she snaps them off, are they gonna regrow overnight, same way they did before, or are they just gonna? I doubt they're gonna stay permanently broken because she's planning on snapping off the other one, but that's like a this is a crazy plot to it, like a crazy like cliffhanger to leave us off on. But I'm very interested because I want to see how the horns, because they're acting like this is a thing. It's like, oh, let's give them a scare. Let's freak them out, right? So why? What's the logic behind snapping off her horns? You know, but hey, they might be like 3 steps ahead, like way above us when it comes to thinking about this stuff. But this is just such an interesting way of going about it, because if her, I doubt her horns are just gonna stay broken. I'm sure that's gonna grow back. But when I was talking about the idea of like, oh, it's kind of like people who naturally have like weird things about them, snapping them off as a joke, or like basically disfiguring yourself as a joke to like try to get back at that person isn't really a good idea. So in that aspect, don't follow that. But in the other, like, oh well, it's not really that. That's not your fault. There's nothing to take personally there, mainly because these people are just trying to relate to each other by making you feel bad. So when it comes to like your own personal traits, it doesn't. Don't try to snap them off unless you have dragon horns, in which case you might be able to. But that was a chapter of RuriDragon. Again, if you want to get like a more in-depth thing of it, that's not really what I'm here for. I really want you to read it yourself. I'm just here to get a basic overview and glossing over of it so that you guys can feel kind of interested. Granted, I do spoil a lot, but so that's it for RuriDragon. Next, we're going to be covering Kagurabachi. Now, this chapter, so this initial screen is for me kind of freaky because it says the Sword Bearer assassination arc. So I don't know if we're gonna meet all the other sword bearers or if this is only for one of them. Because obviously, if they're all being attacked simultaneously, that's kind of speeding up the story to a degree that I'm kind of nervous about. But this is probably this. Let's hope that this is how the mangaka wants to do it. Let's hope that this is like the speed he's trying to go at. Let's hope and pray. But this chapter basically covers one of the swordsmen. Great art. Again, now from now on, this is probably going to be the squad. It's these. Yeah, it's probably these 5. This is going to be the squad, right? It's weird because we don't see too much of Char, and Char is like the little girl who can regenerate. So she's not really appearing too much, but that's like she's the kid of the group. You don't really want to take her on missions, especially since she is so important. But Yuji Uhara. Yuji Uruha, whatever. And this guy was obviously one of the swordsmen from 18 years ago. And he was what he really trusted Chihiro's father, and he looked up to him like crazy. And we're basically getting how this guy got his sword technically, and his reaction to Chihiro's father's death, and how he took it really bad. And we even get more of an update where the enchanted blades were stolen, and they killed the original owner of Cloud Gouger already. Like when his father was killed, we also killed the owner of Cloud Gouger. You know, so that's pretty interesting. Because obviously this was 3 years ago, and that's also when, obviously when the father died, Cloud Gouger. So now we know when Cloud Gouger fell out of the original owner's hands. And we also get the name of the original owner's hand. It was Misaka, right? And that's when they all decided to go into hiding, because the enchanted blades are not where they're supposed to be. The blade wielders are vulnerable, and they need protection now, especially because they didn't know that they were going to get jumped at one point. And we start hearing that this guy found out about Chihiro, and he was like, no, it's not Chihiro. He's got some nerve saying his name. Obviously, what most people are saying, there's no way he could have a kid. And specifically this guy was like, no way Mr. Rokohari could ever take care of a child. He could never do it. And he's basically saying, I was dead for 3 years after learning that Chihiro's father died. I lost my will to live. Then the invaders came in. He started running, and they're going to a train station, right? And it's like, oh, you're getting a new bodyguard, stuff like that. And here we have it. We have one of his new bodyguards, and we can see just Hikari. I'm pretty sure his name's Hikari, right? Yeah. I'll remember. I'll start learning the names. I promise. I'll start learning the names. I'm gonna have like a sticky note. But he's just clarifying his identity, stuff like that, and he knows. Uruha knows that there are people here. They're already here. They're already trying to kill him. And he Hikari tries to protect him, but then he immediately gets a nosebleed, right? And we learn here something very interesting, that yeah, it is Hakuri, yeah. We learn that when you take an enchanted blade, you can't use other magic, which is very balanced. I like how that works, because it's a price for the eternal contract of being tethered to an enchanted blade. You lose your original sorcery. So Chihiro probably had a type of sorcery that we never found out about, but he gave that up in order to wield the seventh enchanted blade. That's why they need bodyguards, which does make sense. Because it's like, why would the the wielders of the enchanted blades need bodyguards? And we find out now why. Because they can't, if they don't have their swords, and they don't have natural magic, and if they don't have their swords, they basically don't have their main fighting ability, right? Hakuri, whatever. Hakuri basically passes out because he can't use too much energy, and we see the difference from someone like Hakuri and someone like Chihiro compared to an actual person who uses sacred blades, the enchanted blades, for a long time. And he mops the floor with these guys. Like, they don't stand a chance. Like, look how badly he's mopping all these people. Boom, 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 right? And he's saying he's rusty. He probably could have killed them faster, Obviously, they're getting jumped on the train, and they're like, oh, they're everywhere. Now, to me, this is just peak Chihiro. Look at him. He's in the corner he's in the corner. He's right here. It's so good. He's like, oh, they're everywhere. It looks like we're surrounded. No, they are, right? And this itself is such a scary image. Let me see if I can zoom in. I might fuck up the frame though. Let's see. I think I'm fucking up the frame. Let me see. Hold on. Because I can't see what you guys are seeing. Give me 1 second. Yeah, it's kind of fucked up. Hold on. Let me just back out of the thing. It's just weird now. Yeah, now it's especially weird. But whatever. Let me just reload this real quick because and then I think it was like right here. Sorry. Uh, yeah, right there. All right. Sorry about that, but we get Chihiro being the pure aura, right? Because look at this, and then look at this. He already killed them. They don't know it yet, though. They're already dead. This guy is smart though. He's like, somebody behind me, and then he's already dead. You know, and Chihiro being like, "Oh, nice to meet you, Mr. Uruha. I'm gonna have to learn the name, Uruha. Nice to meet you. Uh, an enchanted blade, but this guy, right? And he sees his face. Uruha sees Chihiro's face, and immediately connects it to his father. And I think this is good for Chihiro. You know, he finally is like, he probably doesn't really care, but it's kind of like that. Oh, someone who I know that my father had a close relationship with can see that I'm his kid. I appreciate that. Spoilers for the next chapter. I'm not going to cover the next chapter right now, but we do kind of get a scene like that next chapter. But I'm not going to cover anything else. That's going to be for another video. But this chapter is really good, and if you know anything about if you're on the Kagurabachi subreddit, I go there occasionally. I don't go on Reddit too often, but when I do, I like checking out Kagurabachi and stuff like that. There was a meme that came out. It wasn't, I don't know how popular it was. I have to check again, but it was basically all the sword bearers, and each of them was obsessed with the father, except for one of them who hated his guts. And if we keep on that track, if obviously this guy is obsessed with Chihiro's father to the point where he felt like he had nothing to live for after he died. Obviously, there's something there, and let's hope that the meme is still alive. I think in the actual list, the girl, the female enchanted blade wielder, was the one who hated his guts. So if that's true, I'd love that. That'd be great. But as far as we know, but that's it for Kagurabachi, at least for now. And this chapter was chapter 47, very good. I am kind of worried that we're gonna basically combine all the swordsmen in one arc. Little freaky, but from what we see in next chapter, again I'm spoiling, again a little bit of spoiler for next chapter, it might be like big blocks of chapters with the swordsman, like they get a swordsman, take him to a safe place, get a swordsman, take him to a safe place, and have to fight somebody. It might be like that, but we don't know. Like I said, I'm not doing the next chapter, so we move on to the next series. Now, I'm going to do next Jujutsu Kaisen, because right now we're on break of Jujutsu Kaisen. This is actually the only chapter we have of it for now, until, well, technically the leaks come out soon, I think, Thursday, Friday, I don't remember. But this chapter is the wrapping up. To me it feels a little rushed, but I really do like it, because let's go to the chapter very quickly. Sukuna is basically trying to convince Megumi to just stay down. Basically, you killed your sister, you killed your best friend. Don't worry about it. You killed basically your father figure. Don't worry, I'll take care of it. Just give up. You don't gotta live a normal life anymore, right? You don't have the possibility to do it. And we get this pretty cool monologue, I guess, from Megumi, basically going, I never really planned on living a normal life. I'm already kind of fucked up, so there's no real point in worrying about that. And we see how big Yuji's domain is as he punches Megumi out of Sukuna, right? He's not punching Sukuna out of Megumi, he's punching Megumi out of Sukuna. Very funny. And great progression shot, right? We get Sukuna's, I guess, essence, shell, remnants trying to reach for Megumi. He gets him, he grabs him right here, but he can't hold on, You know, he can't sustain this whatever this form is, and he gets walked down basically by Yuji because he got reduced to whatever the hell this is, whatever the hell this is, and Yuji hits him with the "You are me, not I am you. You are me." Boom! Right? This is a perfect, uh, basically complete turnaround from how he was walking down what's that nigga's name? Oh, Mahito. How he walked down Mahito. And he said, like, Mahito, I am you. Right now, to Sukuna, he's you are me. He goes into a little bit more detail, right? And he's basically explaining how similar they were. How real, how right he is, I highly doubt. Is very not, is very much not. But, you know, he's trying to relate to him. And he's basically saying, I want you, like, I'm still giving you the chance to live with me, live with somebody who can give you, like, care, you know? I'm willing to go on living with you, you know? And that's pretty big. But then Sukuna's like, nah, I'm a curse, F you, you know, stuff like that. But we don't really know the answer. And then we get this. So these two have been on a date for the entirety, I think, for almost a year. These two have been on a date. A year or a few months. I really don't know. I don't know when their fight started, but they've been doing this since what's that man's name? The lightning guy. Since the lightning guy died. They've been on this date. We saw none of it. They're both shirtless. What is happening here? You know? But Uraume? Yeah, whatever. Uraume decides to just die. Makes sense. You know, I don't know, their friend, comrade, boyfriend, I don't know, died or was put somewhere where she can't really reach him. So they decide, yeah, fuck it, and shatters to pieces. I wish we got at least a little bit of this fight, because it would have been really cool to see this guy who can literally survive. He's saying here, I got lucky. How much luck could he have gotten in this fight? You know, what happened to their shirts? He's missing his J's. What happened? You know, were they just on a date? We don't know. We don't know. Where they are is leveled. Granted, you know, Sukuna busted out his shrine and he was chopping the people up, but you know, now that I'm looking at this scene with Yuji's mouth being cut off, you think he just ate mouthed Sukuna, he just ate him? You think he did that? That'd be pretty funny. Okay, we continue. But Uraume, I think it's Uraume. Yeah. Yeah. Uraume dies, and then we get Megumi waking up. And this is a very funny scene. But first I want to talk about Megumi's scars, because his scars are pretty interesting. He has the Sukuna eyes scars, where the two big eyes and the other small eye right here. That's pretty interesting. I would like to see the rest. Like, I don't know if we can see it on his other body before. I'm not going to go back too far, but I would like to know if he has like a scar across his stomach, like where the mouth was, maybe on like his lower abdomen, like where the other arms might have been able to come out from. I would like to see if he has those, because that'd be pretty interesting. He doesn't seem to have, granted, we still can't see like his wrists or anything, but he doesn't seem to have like marks of like the Sukuna marks. He doesn't seem to have like things of that, but you know, I think it'd be very interesting to see what his body is like now, if he has like even more scars. But we finally get Nobara, Yuji, and Megumi all together again after God knows how long, and they're just relaxing, they're having fun, they're chilling, and Yuji gives both of them a letter that was written by Gojo, obviously before he died. And it's so nice to see how how like cheerful they are now. You know what I mean? They're just having friends. They're just having friends. They're just being nice and having fun now. Oop, that was beep. And they're just living their lives now. They beat Sukuna. They're probably just gonna go right back to fighting other curses after this, you know. And we find out, okay, real quick, spoilers, whatever, real quick. We find out that in Nobara's letter is information about her mom, which she doesn't really care about, but it's interesting that he found it. Then we get Megumi laughing at his letter. And it turns out that, okay, so this is the official translation. It's, sorry, Megumi, but your dad's a goner. I wasted his ass, right? My bad. That is such a such a Gojo thing to say. He's like, yeah, I killed you. I remember I read like a version of the translation, which is like, oh, I'm sorry, but your dad's deceased, and I put him in the ground, something like that. Sorry, you know. That was a pretty funny version too, but this is also pretty funny. But this is like the first time they're ever like sitting around laughing with each other. We get Nobara and Yuji being idiots together, and that's nice. It's after everything that's happened, it's so nice to just see them be able to relax. But maybe not, because we get this scene where they're saying like, "Oh, we have to save him." Yuta, you're a jerk. And they're like, who's being saved from what? And from what we know nothing of what happened to Yuta. Like Yuta, he had basically a burnout, his curse technique burned out, and he was stuck in Gojo's body, right? We don't know what that means. Like, is he alive in the body? Is he just a brain in a jar now, like Kentaku was? Is he in his original body? He's saying we have to save him, Yuta, you jerk. But we don't know. We know it's about Okotsu. We know it's like something to do with him, but we don't know what. And I really don't know what's going to happen in the next 3 chapters until the series ends. We have 3 chapters left. 3 chapters, 3 weeks, because we already had this week. 3 chapters, 3 weeks left. It doesn't feel like enough. Because truthfully, what are we gonna do in those 3 chapters? Let me try to like think what we could possibly do in those 3 chapters. Next chapters, we're gonna figure out whatever happened to Yuta. Either if he's a brain in a jar, or if he's actually in his body, or if he's stuck in Gojo's body, which would be weird. The chapter after that, the final chapter, I don't know. I think we could get like a scene to clarify that Sukuna is still in Yuji, and Yuji's basically trying to reform him, like, oh, Sukuna, cut that out, don't do that, Sukuna, blah, 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 stuff like that. But I really don't know how this, maybe he eats the final finger, you know, just to like get it out of like the circulation, so it's just in him. And we know that Sukuna doesn't have enough power to reconvene, especially in that finger, right? So if Yuji just eats it, it's not going to be enough to make Sukuna a threat. It's not going to be enough to do really anything. And it'll just be a way to get rid of that finger, to basically, whenever Yuji eventually dies, so long as he's not eaten, I think. So long as he's not eaten, Sukuna's dead. Sukuna's like perma-gone. And I truthfully don't know what the next 2 chapters are going to cover. Really, I really don't. But we'll figure that out next week. Because once we get like next week's chapter, the 3rd chapter, not the penultimate, the chapter before the final one, whatever that was called. No, the chapter before the final. Wait, no, the chapter before the finale. Yeah, that's a good one. Once we get that one, I think we can kind of plot out what the last 2 are going to be. It's going to be a lot easier. But like 3 chapters, it feels like too much and it feels like too little. Because it looks like they're going to try to like push this a little further, but it seems like they're going to try to push it a little too far and it's going to be cut off short. But whatever, we'll figure it out. Maki's still alive, thank God, but you know, we'll figure out next in Jujutsu Kaisen chapter 269, which is going to be the next one. That means we're going to end on 270, either 2 or 1. No, 271. We're gonna end on 271. So that's Jujutsu Kaisen. Now we can cover what we've all been waiting for, Chainsaw Man. Now, this chapter, it wasn't what I thought it'd be, but it is also pretty good. We get an explanation on Yoru's power basically growing. She can pull things towards herself and turn them into weapons without saying their name. She turns soap into a blade, and this is a very important ability that we find out, like, obviously in a few pages. But like, when I turn my partner into a weapon, I could do it without saying its name, blah blah blah, stuff like that. It's probably won't be enough to kill Chainsaw Man. And she's saying, oh my god, it's been so long. They're basically saying, like, what if you just bury the hatchet with Denji, aka Chainsaw Man? You know, then like everyone remembers wars, terrors, or stuff like that. It's, you basically got what you wanted, right? So what's the real point of killing Chainsaw Man if war is now strong, or is stronger, or if not as strong as it was in the past, right? And we find out that there's something she wants to get back from Chainsaw Man. She wants to make him throw up stuff that he ate before, right? My comrades were eaten by him. If I could just make him vomit them back up, right? Like, do you have a way to beat him? Are you capable of beating him? And she says, there's two. There are two weapons I could use. Like, there's two weapons I could make. Just two that would be far more powerful and fearsome than yours, right? And she's saying, why aren't you doing that? You know, I gave up a lot in order to do this, and you're not willing to give up two things that you care a lot about. That's pretty dumb, you know? And Yoru says, don't compare them to such feeble things, right? So we can tell just how much she cares about these two things. Her two comrades, she calls them. And even later she basically calls them her children, right? Turning those two into weapons would run counter to my saving my comrades. So what she's trying to do, by creating these weapons, she'd be technically going against what she's trying to do, right? And what's her name? I just call them Yor, whatever, because Yor is the name I remember most. The girl, whatever, I can't remember. She's basically like, why don't you just stop that? Like, you don't want to give up these weapons. You basically got what you wanted. Why don't you give up? And Yor's just like, I want to beat him. She's being a child. I want to beat him. I want to prove that I'm more fearsome than him. I'll give up anything for that, right? For that, would I even turn my children into weapons? She basically goes, yeah, I guess I would. Come to mother, tank, and gun. The tank devil, which is in the Gulf of Mexico, we can probably assume, mainly because we know the biggest piece of the gun devil is in the Soviet Union. We learned that. So she, with no arms and about to get diced up by Denji, this is sick. Great. She's about to get mopped. You see how close this is to her. She calls, because remember now, she can call them without saying their names. She can call the tank devil and the gun devil to her side, things that she owns and things she cares about, and basically pull them towards her. This was Tank, most likely, and this was probably a very big devil. And Gun was also, we know how dangerous the gun devil is. We saw it firsthand. We saw the dangers of the gun devil. You can only imagine the dangers of the tank devil. And we get another demonstration of just how strong those weapons are, because she doesn't dome him, but she basically donuts. It's not Denji though, it's Pochita. She basically donuts Pochita and gets mouthed back because she knocked it out of his stomach. Right gun gauntlet, left tank gauntlet. This is going to be a massacre next chapter, whenever that comes out. With Chainsaw Man 176, this is leading to game, because we don't know how far back he ate the weapons. You know, we don't know how much she has to make him throw up in order to get them back. You know, because when Pochita reappeared in hell, he was eating a lot of devils, right? The World War II devil and a few other devils that I don't remember the name of, but he ate a lot of devils, right? And we know that when they throw up, it's almost like they were never gone. But obviously, like, if you're a strong enough devil, you remember these things. Or unless you're a four horseman, you might have to be a four horseman to remember. Because we know Makima, she remembers them, but she didn't know what they meant. She remembered the words. She didn't know what they meant. You know? It's like, oh, World War II, stuff like that. I don't even know what they mean. I just know they existed at one point. You know what I mean? So, it's very interesting. Now that we have right gun gauntlet, left tank gauntlet, this is gonna be crazy. This fight that's gonna happen right after this is going to be on the next level. She's probably gonna just be unloading the clip in his stomach. Because again, like, does he digest these things? If they're just in his stomach, where do they go? Is it like a pocket dimension in there? Because we know this isn't what the mouth devil looked like. This is probably his head, but like, how did this fit in his abdomen? He's pretty big, but really, like, he can hold. Does he have to eat the head specifically, or does he eat any body part? But now she has a mouth again. Now, if she wanted to call something, she can, which is even scarier. And if she can, like, release other weapons, like the weapon she wants to get back, imagine the damage she can do then. But one thing that was brought up, I don't remember when it was, but it was brought up in the story where it's like, I think it was in part 2, chainsaws only cut down trees. It's like, well, maybe now, because we don't remember what chainsaws were actually meant to do. And the only thing that was left were trees. You know what I mean? That's something I would like to learn about. Like, okay, what were the other things chainsaws in this world were used for before it was eaten all by the Chainsaw Man devil? The Chainsaw Devil. You know what I mean? When it comes to, like, loose ends, I kind of want to know what the fake Chainsaw Man guy was. We kind of only saw him like twice, and we don't really get a follow-up on that. I'd like to get a follow-up on that soon. It doesn't have to be next chapter, but soon. I'd prefer it to be soon. Sooner rather than later. But that's it for Chainsaw Man, and that's it for Manga Roundup, right? And I have this I'm putting in this new part right now of recommendations, because I've been trying to, like, diversify the stuff I read. So in order to diversify, I started reading a few other things, stuff I see online. And one thing I saw that I think might catch your interest is Noah is my senior, or my senpai. Noah is my senpai and my friend. It's a very cute series. It's a slice of life. You're following Rihito and his senior while they work at a what is it called? It's like they work basically at a gacha game stuff, and he's a 3D modeler. She is like a senior director. She's like a lead director of, like, design. She's a design director or something. And Noah is, like, horribly bad when it comes to, like, not social interactions, but she doesn't have any friends. She's very clingy. She's very pessimistic, and that's kind of counter to the appearance she has in front of everybody else. Rihito is very much a very, like, stern, serious person. I highly recommend this series. It's very short. It only has like 32 chapters and still coming out. So if you want a quick read, that's cute. You know, obviously this is manga, so you got to be careful with, like, ecchi stuff, but it doesn't get that bad. It's not bad. It's like just some scenes, you know, you got to pay attention. You got to be, like, wary of that. But apart from that, I recommend Noah Senpai is my senpai. Noah Senpai. Noah is my senpai and my teacher, or Noah Senpai no Tomodachi. I think that's what it was, or wa Tamadachi. Can't remember. Read that. And I'd like to thank you. Let me There we are. I'd like to thank you all for stopping by. You know, generic YouTube stuff. Like, comment, share, subscribe. Leave a comment. If you want me to do more in-depth individual videos rather than this one big overview one, that'd be great. If you have any stuff you want me to read, any recommendations for manga you want me to check out, I will. And if I like it, I might promote it here. But all that aside, I'd like to wish you all a farewell.